All right, welcome to today's class on Dotloop 201. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and I'll be taking you through a little more of the advanced tips, tricks, and time savers in your Dotloop account to hopefully make your Dotloop experience a little more effective, a little more efficient. Okay, so this is not the Dotloop basics. If you want to learn the Dotloop basics, if you're new to it, that can be found on slmtraining.com, and that's definitely a good class to watch first. Okay, this will be a little faster paced class to help you out with that. So the first thing that we'll need to cover is how to get into your Dotloop account. And if you've been using Dotloop for a little while, you should of course know that, but the best way to get into your Dotloop account is by going to mykw.kw.com, which is where I am on my screen here. So again, that's mykw.kw.com. You'll log in with your username and password here, and if you're unsure of your MyKW username and password, feel free to go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com. We'd be happy to help you get that reset so that you can get in and follow along in today's class. Just a quick note, if you do ever see this error message right here when you're logging into MyKW, that's been going on for a few months now. If that does ever happen, just come back up to your address bar here and type in mykw.kw.com again, click enter, and that will reload it and take you right to the MyKW homepage. Just a quick tip there. So getting into Dotloop is still the same method for now, that you'll want to come over to this My Transactions on the top center edge control panel and go ahead and click the blue Start My Transactions link. And that should, in theory, take you to your Dotloop account without further logins. So again, we're going to go ahead and click Start My Transactions. You can, of course, go to dotloop.com directly to log in if you feel more comfortable that way. That's totally fine. Just a heads up, there's also a Dotloop mobile app. If you have an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device, you can download the Dotloop mobile app, and that will be found in your either your App Store if you have an Apple product, or your Google Play Store if it's an Android product. You can download that to start using that on the go with your clients right away. That's really useful to use. All right. Now, so as we get into Dotloop, you may have noticed the new Dotloop home screen has officially launched to the extent that it's forcing you to use it. So leading up to about like last week or so, you've had the option to switch back and forth between the previous Dotloop home screen and the new one. Now this is the new Dotloop homepage here, so you will have to use that. The good news is that it's very similar to the older Dotloop home screen navigation-wise, and once you click on any of your loops, that will take you in to the black and red that you're used to seeing. So it's not too different here, and I'll be showing you a couple tips on the Dotloop home screen to get you going on that. A big thing to note, just make sure that you see that you are a premium member on the top left of your account. You may also see a KW logo. It depends on your market center. But you definitely want to see that you are a premium member. That means you are connected to your market center, will have access to all of your market center forms, and have all the Dotloop features that you need. If you do not see premium on the top left here, make sure to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. Let me send out our email address here, just so you guys have that. Support@scottleroymarketing.com. Let them know that you do not have, your Dotloop account is not the premium account, and we can get that connected for you ASAP. All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the new Dotloop homepage here. Just heads up in the Dotloop 101 class, I do cover what these top icons do on the top right here. So let's go ahead and start with the search bar. So of course it does just that. It will search through your loops to help you find what loop you are looking for as quickly as possible. Very helpful as you start to have a bunch of loops and sell a bunch of homes. Coming over to the filters, this is a great one to talk about to organize your Dotloop homepage. Now, as you start to have a bunch of loops, all right, it makes it a little easier, or more difficult rather, to find the loop that you need right away. So let me give you some tips on how you can organize your Dotloop home screen. So first of all, you'll notice this archive section. So you do have the option to archive your loops. You cannot delete any loops. You can archive those though. So if you ever lose a loop, by the way, it's not deleted. You can't delete it. So I'll show you how you can always get that back. But you can archive loops. So let's say you started a loop and the transaction fell through and you don't need to be looking at it anymore if you have a practice loop. Whatever the case may be, you do have the option to archive loops right here on the loop. Okay, so right from the main loop here, you'll see the option to archive. Once I archive that, it will turn the loop gray, and you'll notice it says archived here. Unarchiving it is as easy as going ahead and clicking unarchive. But just a heads up, it will not just disappear from there once I click archived. Alright, you will need to refresh your page in order to see that change, and you can refresh by clicking the icon that looks like an arrow and a circle on the top left of your browser. But in the filters option here, you will also need to toggle these options under archive to make sure it's hiding your archived. Typically, you don't need to see your hidden archive loops. Alright, so you typically want to go ahead and select that first dot. However, if you ever lose a loop and need to grab that again, you can select that you only want to see the archive loops or that you want to see all of those. So if you lose a loop, it is a feeling of panic. It's not a great feeling. You can always just click all right here, click apply, and then you would be able to use the search bar right here to search for all your loops to find that loop right away. So definitely very helpful. But again, you'll want to go ahead and leave it as hide archive typically. And once you click on archive on some of these loops, you can then refresh your page by again clicking the circle on the top left of your browser, arrow in a circle. That will refresh your page and hide the archive loops. Other filter tips in here. So as we come down, so click on filters, you'll notice some loop statuses here. So typically you want to go ahead and select the loop statuses that you do want to see. We typically do not need to see our sold loops or our done loops. So I'm going to go ahead and check the other ones. I typically don't need to see my withdrawn or terminated loops either, so I'm going to leave those unchecked. So we're checking all the loops, all the statuses that we do want to see. So once I have those selected, this is totally up to you, and of course you can always come back and change this anytime to see those loops. I can click apply on the bottom right here, and it will reload my Dotloop home screen to get rid of the ones that I don't want to see. So let's talk about how to give a loop a status to make that a working tool for you. So you'll notice right on the loop, right from your home screen here, you do have the option, let's say on this one, to toggle the type, first of all. So if you have a loop that says type none, you will need to change the loop type first, let's say to listing for sale, purchase, and so forth. Once I change the type, and you have to do the type first, it will then show you the option to change the status. Okay, so if you don't see status, it's because you need to change the type. So from status here, I can go ahead and change that from none. And this is where you'll see the options that correspond to the filters section we were just looking at. All right, so you can go ahead and select whatever the loop status may be. If you don't need to see that anymore, if it's withdrawn, sold, or terminated, once I select one of those and refresh my page, according to my filters, it will no longer show me that loop on my Dotloop home screen. But of course, you can always clear your filters to bring all your loops back right away. Okay, so this is how you would select the status right from here, and then it would correspond with the filters right in this loop status. Again, if you ever lose your loops, you can always clear all your filters. So I just clicked on clear on the bottom left there. It gave me the clear option, and it will show you all your loops. Okay, so just a few tips there. Lastly, a couple more tips on the Dotloop home screen, then we'll get into creating a practice loop. You do have the option to sort your loops. So you can sort by the creation date, last updated, and so forth. My personal favorite is last updated. That way, the last loop that you were working on will be the first one for you to see next time you log in. Okay, it gives you the most pertinent loop first. The arrow next to it will allow you to toggle that in ascending or descending order. So whatever sort option you choose, it will control that. And lastly, on the far right here, you may have a list icon. Okay, and that icon here on the far right will control how you're viewing your Dotloop home screen. So this is a grid view that I'm looking at right now on my screen. If you prefer it to be in a list view, I can click on that icon. It will show me those in a list instead. From what I've seen, it's all the same features. So feature-wise, there's not really one better than the other. Just go with whichever one really suits your needs, or which one is more aesthetically pleasing for you. You can always switch back and forth on the right-hand side here. Also, there is a Dotloop texting feature as well, so you do have that option on the left-hand side. You'll notice a little blue speech bubble here. So check that out. Feel free to start playing with it. The idea that Dotloop is rolling out is so that you can keep all of your text messages. You can track those within your Dotloop account, so it gives you a copy of those. So in theory, you could go ahead and click on that little speech bubble, that little tab right there. Click on the icon that looks like a pencil and paper to start editing that, or creating a message rather. You will then be able to put in your contact's name. Here, I may show you your contacts from here, but you can type those in. See if I can find one here. All right, or you can go ahead and put in the number as well, 704, and click next. All right, it will then take you to where you can start typing in a text message, and it will text your client right from there. Just a heads up, it does send it from a different phone number than your actual cell phone number, okay, but it does indicate that it's coming from Dotloop and who it's coming from. Feel free to play with that. There's also, Dotloop did roll out a video on how to use the whole texting feature. If you're interested in that, I'd be happy to send that to you. Feel free to email me at support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which is Leah, and I can send you the texting video that Dotloop support rolled out so you can have more information on that. That is a cool little feature that's relatively new there. All right, let's go ahead and come back to our Dotloop home screen and click Add Loop on the far right. That blue button there to get going on a practice loop. And it's really great to have a practice loop in your account so you can practice with the Dotloop features before doing those in front of clients. So it takes you through the stages of creating a loop, which you're probably pretty comfortable with as experienced Dotloop users, but I'll give you some extra tips on this. So let's go ahead and create a loop name. So that can be whatever you'd like it to be, 123 practice loop, 123 Main Street. All right, let's talk about these suggestions that pop down. You may have wondered what that is. Let me put in a more realistic address so I can explain that to you. Okay, so when you start typing in an address for the loop name, you will notice it gives you different options that you can select. Now, if it is that option, so let's say I am the buyer's agent and I am making an offer on this listing right here. So I know that it's the correct listing because I can see the MLS number, I can see the listing agent here. And if I were to select that option from the drop-down, it would do two things. So first of all, it would pull over all the public information about that property and put that into the details section of my loop so that it could autofill any property information onto any forms that I bring into my loop. So that's a great time saver. Again, that's just pulling in public information, property details that are available to everyone, but that will enter that onto your forms for you so you don't have to retype that in. A second thing that this does. Now, if you've been using Dotloop for a little while, you might have experienced an irritating issue with two loops. So let's say if you are a listing agent and you receive an offer on your listing, you may get a whole nother loop in Dotloop from the buyer's agent submitting an offer. So now you have two loops, your loop that you initially created on the listing, and then a second loop that has the offer that was sent over from the buyer's agent. Very annoying and very confusing to have two loops in there. So this is a way to prevent that. So if I were to select this option here, it would link my loop with the listing agent, let's say in this case. And so that when I made an offer on this listing right here, it would take my offer and instead of creating a whole second loop in that agent's Dotloop account, it would put the offer directly in that agent's loop under a different folder. It would say the folder name, something like the property address and my client's names, okay, or the agent's name to separate that. All right, but it doesn't create a whole new loop. It just creates a new folder within that same loop to help integrate that. Everything is still completely privatized. It only shares what you choose to share, but it's a great way to link your loop to the listing agent so that it avoids a two loop situation. Okay, so just a little tip there. If you have experienced that in the past, that will help you fix that up. So I'm going to go ahead and create a loop name here. I'll click continue on the bottom right. You then have the option to select a loop template. Okay, so you may or may not have this option. It depends on your market center if they utilize this tool in your market center. If you do not have this option, there's nothing wrong with your account. Your market center just doesn't utilize this. If you do have options to select a template, I would highly suggest it. What it does is if I select one of these options, it automatically pulls in all the initial forms I need to get started on that transaction. So it saves you some time so you don't have to go hunting for the forms that you need. So you can select one of these. Okay, just to make sure that we're on the same page, I am not going to select it, and I'm going to click continue on the bottom right. Step 3, we can add in a photo here. Dotloop says that if you take the time to add in a photo of the property, let's say they're very excited about buying, it results in that client being 5 times more likely to use you again or refer you out, because it makes them feel like, wow, this agent created a personalized website for me to sign my forms. Let me show you how easy that is to add in a photo. You can just watch on my screen here. So in theory, first step is you would need to go to the MLS, let's say, and save the photo of the home that they are buying to your computer. Or if you're the listing agent, you would maybe have the photos saved to your computer for that listing. And you can click upload a photo. So the photo would need to be on your computer first. You can then navigate on your computer to find wherever you have that photo saved, and you can double click on that. And it will pull that photo in right away. Now the photo, it is what it is. You can't really edit it from here. It just has a little sliver of the home, kind of the center of the photo. You can't crop it. You can't change what it shows. It is what it is, but that's how it will display for you. So you can see that was really quick and easy to add in. And if it makes them 5 times more likely to use you again, I'd say it's worth it. All right, so go ahead and click done on the bottom right here to complete your loop creation. Just heads up, adding a photo is not a necessary step. That's definitely an extra. So if you're in a rush, you can skip that step and click View Loop on the bottom right. With that being said, if you are in a rush in creating a loop, I do have a Dotloop overview I'm going to send out. 1 second here. So if you ever just need to know the Dotloop basics, this is just a 20-minute video that will walk you through the basics of what you need to do to set up a loop and add your clients and share the form to them right away. So I just sent that out. I would definitely keep that on file if you ever need some assistance walking through that. If you're watching this class recorded, feel free to email me at support@scottloraymarketing.com. Put attention to my name, which is Leah, Leah, and I'd be happy to send that over to you. Same concept here with some Dotloop notes I have for you guys. So here are some written instructions on the Dotloop 101 and 201 class. If you want to keep that on file, it will walk you through written instructions on how to use different features in Dotloop. All right, so after that little side note, we are now in our new loop that we created. The first thing that we need to do is add a person to our loop. So the quickest way to do that is scrolling down on your screen. You will see the people section there on the bottom of your screen. You'll always see yourself and the admin for your office in your people section. With that being said, make sure you take note of what your Dotloop email address is. It's really important if another agent is sharing a form with you in Dotloop that you are giving them this email address specifically, or it will not come into your Dotloop account. It's really important to note what that is. And now let's go ahead and click Add Person on the top right of this section, that big red button, to add our client to a loop. We just need to add in a practice person so we can work within Dotloop. All right, so you need to add in 3 main things here. We want to add in the client's full name, email address, and role. So you can go ahead and put in a full name, your husband's name, your favorite movie star, John Smith, okay, whoever you'd like to be your client for today. I'm going to use Tony Stark for any Iron Man fans. And an email address here. I would definitely suggest using a personal email address that you have, so one that is not connected to your Dotloop account. This way you can see what it looks like from a client's view as well. Okay, so it's always useful to use a personal email address. And then a role. Roles are super important for your clients to be able to electronically sign. If they do not have a role, they will not be able to electronically sign the form. So in this role section here, let's make sure we go ahead and select role. So you can just go ahead and click on the word role in red. And you'll see a whole bunch of different roles display here. The most popularly used ones are at the top, so you can select if it's a buyer or seller that you're working with. So I'll go ahead and select seller. Now once you select the role, it will give you a whole bunch of different options that you can fill in as well, other information for the client. This is not necessary or 100% necessary. This will fill in any information you enter here onto every form that requires that info. So you most definitely can enter that in, but you do not have to. Quick note on this add to my team feature, because it's very important for you guys to understand what this does. Please, if you're taking notes on today's class, make a note to never, ever, ever click this checkbox if you are adding a client to your loop. So what this would do, if I were to click this checkbox, is it would make it so my client can see every single thing in my loop that I can see. And I, of course, don't want that. So the the general concept of Dotloop is that everything is private in your loop until it is shared. So your client can only see what you manually choose to share with them. All right, so you don't want them to see everything generally, you just want them to see what you choose to share with them. So we don't want to click add to my team for clients. Okay, you can't undo it either, so just make sure not to do that. It is a really useful tool though, so let me tell you about when you would want to utilize it. So if you are co-listing a property with another agent in your office, so emphasis on you are on the same side of a transaction working together with the same clients. Right, you can add the other agent to your loop here and click add to my team, and it would put this loop in the other agent's Dotloop account as well, so they can see everything and work with you on that loop. It's a great collaborative tool. Another time you can use it if you're on a real estate team and you have a team admin, you can add your admin to every loop, click add to my team, and that would put the loop in your admin's Dotloop account so they can help you out with it. So just definitely really important to take away that we don't click that for adding clients, and then you can click add person on the bottom right here. So clicking add person on the bottom right to finish adding our client in. And you can of course repeat that process if the client has a spouse or anyone else on the transaction that needs to sign. Now for yourself, in line with your name, you will always want to give yourself a role. Again, you will not be able to electronically sign unless you have a role. So where it says none, you want to go ahead and change that to either buying agent or listing agent. And I'll go ahead and select listing agent since we're working on a listing in today's class. But you can select whichever one applies. Okay. Roles, again, are very important for your clients to be able to electronically sign. If you ever need to edit your client's information, you can do so by clicking on the three dots on the far right. You'll see the option to edit that. So you can edit the email address if you entered that in wrong, or the name. That can be changed anytime. All right, so let's scroll on to the top of our screen here. All right, let's go to the Documents section near the top of your loop. And let's talk about adding folders. So folders are really useful for keeping your loop organized. Having one folder and all the forms under that folder is very overwhelming for you and for your office staff who does compliance on your loop. So there are, of course, tons and tons of forms that go into a single transactions, so we do not want to have those all under one folder. If you selected a loop template, you might already have a couple folders in there, but let me show you how you can add folders, rename them, and utilize those for your loop organization. So first of all, if you have a folder in there, which you should, off default, at least have one, we can come to the three drop-down dots to the far right of the folder name and select Rename to rename that. So if you are working with a listing, we want to at least have three folders typically. Okay, so if I rename that here, I can rename this one to listing folder, let's say. I'll put the cursor to the left of the word folder. I can just type in the word listing. And to make that stick, I can either click enter on my keyboard or click in the white margin, and that will make that name stick. So for a listing, we again want to have three folders. So one being the listing folder with all your listing documents, such as the listing agreement, maybe the property disclosure is signed by the seller, the house measurements, MLS data sheet, whatever goes into the listing of the property. And your office may have a checklist of all the different items that they require for your listing folder. So feel free to check in with them on that. We can add a second folder here by clicking Add Folder on the top right. You'll see that in red here. It'll give me this new folder here, and I can see my cursor blinking to the left of the word new, so I can double click on the word new to highlight that, or use the arrows on your keyboard to go over to the right side of new and erase that, so we can give that the title of sales folder. Okay, and I can either click enter on my keyboard or click in the white margin to make that stick. In my sales folder, I'll want to have all my contract documents, like the fully signed offer, fully signed property disclosure, all forms that go into your contract. And last but not least, we're going to do that one more time, clicking Add Folder on the top right to add in a closing folder. Okay. If you ever mess up renaming one of these folders, you can always click the 3 drop-down dots and rename that anytime. The closing folder, well, of course, that should be our favorite folder, have all the closing documents, term my letter, closing disclosure, so forth. Okay. It's really great to have these folders set up in your example loop so you can reference that anytime. And if you're representing a buyer, you would typically have 2 folders, a sales folder and a closing folder. Just heads up on that. But you can use folders however you may like to use them for organization. Another idea of utilizing folders is if you have an offer terminate. So let's say you're the listing agent. You get in a fully signed offer, but it terminates. That's the worst, I know. But what you can then do is you could rename that folder. So let's say I would rename the sales folder to terminated sales folder with the client's names in there, maybe the buyer's names that submitted the offer. All right, and then I could create a new folder by clicking Add Folder for the new offer to purchase that comes in. So I could rename that folder something like New Sales Folder with those buyers' names next to it, okay, to keep those separate. We definitely want to have 2 different folders for different offers that may come in. So let me explain something really quickly about that, about how Dotloop works with terminated offers real quick. So if you are the listing agent, right, and you have an offer that terminates on your listing, you can keep the same loop and just create a new folder for the new offer that comes in. Okay, but here's the catch. If you are the buyer's agent, so if you're representing the buyer and you make an offer on a listing, on a property, and that offer terminates, you would then have to create a new loop completely for the new property that your buyer is going to put an offer in next on. Okay, now this is the reason on that. So the way Dotloop works is all the information autofills from the property, so it's very property specific. So if you are representing the buyer, you have to create a new loop because there's a whole new property. So it's very important so it doesn't get confusing and have the wrong property information on your forms. Okay, now I'll be showing you in just a moment here how you can copy forms from one loop to another. So if you are representing the buyer, the offer terminates, you can then create a new loop and easily copy over your forms, let's say your buyer agency agreement, working with real estate agents, those forms that would still stand true to your new loop in just a few seconds. Okay, it's very easy to do. But that is very important for you to know. Please let me know if you have questions on that. Unfortunately, that's just how Dotloop works. All right, so let's add a new document in. So in my listing folder here, I'm going to click Add Document to the far right of the word listing folder here. And I'm going to select that first blue box that says Templates, add an interactive form by selecting one from Templates. So click that first blue box. It will then pull up all your forms that your Market Center staff awesomely adds to your Dotloop account for you. On the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of red form folders going down your screen that hold all of your forms. And yours will look different than mine. This is specific to your Market Center. Okay, so go ahead and select the red form folder on the left-hand side that you think would have the form in it that you need. And I'm going to pull in a listing agreement, but you can pull in whatever form you would like. The concept should be the same. So go ahead and select the form folder on the left-hand side. To open that up, once I select the form folder, it will show me all the forms in that folder, and I can use the search bar at the top of my screen here. I can click on the word search, to start to search for whatever form I'm looking for to bring in. So let's say I'm looking for a listing agreement. I can type in the word listing to pull in all forms that have the word listing in the title. Now again, your office may have some checklists for you that say the form name if you're a newer agent, that tell you, what to search to find that form to pull that in. You can then check the checkbox to the left of whichever form you'd like to pull in, and you can check multiple at once, just a tip. And then click copy on the bottom right here. So I'll click copy on the bottom right. It will then copy the form in. It gives me this nice green checkbox letting me know I copied that form in, and I can click OK on the bottom right. And voila, I have pulled the form in. Now very quickly, we're just going to go over one extra tip that I don't go over in the Dotloop 101 class. So go ahead and click on that form name to open that up. It will bring you to this autofill box that is very important. This is our best friend. We do never want to X out of this autofill box. A couple things that are really important on here for you to note. Roles. Always make sure you see your client's name in line with seller 1, seller 2 if that applies. Okay, or they will not be able to electronically sign without that. Okay, I can't stress that enough how important that is. If you do not see your client's name in line with, let's say, seller 2 here, if there were one, you could click select person, click on their name from the list here, or click add person straight from here to add in their information, to add them to the loop. Roles are very important in line with listing agent or whatever your role is. Make sure you see your name in there as well. Quick extra tip here, so where it says property information, okay, you can of course manually fill in all this information, and it will autofill not only onto this form, but every future form that you bring into this loop specifically. So definitely worth your time to fill in this information here. All right, but where it has the property here, if you were to put in, it says search by address or MLS number. This correlates to that same tip where I was talking about when we were initially creating our loop, right? If I start typing in a property address here, it will give me different suggestions, right, to match the loop. And what that will do is that will pull in all the information, all the public property information to autofill in this form, and also link your loop to a listing agent if that applies. Okay, so I can scroll on down here and click autofill on the very bottom. Okay, just always make sure to do this. Always want to autofill this information. Once I click on autofill on the bottom right, it will pull me into my form and show me any autofilled information in yellow. All right, so I do go in detail on how to fill out this form, how to share it to your clients, to electronically sign, and then what they see on their end as well in the Dotloop 101 video. So feel free to check that out on slmtraining.com. In today's class, I'm just going to go over an extra tip on these interactive forms, and that is in the More section on the top black toolbar. So go ahead and hover over More. We're going to talk about host in-person signing. Now, the general concept of Dotloop is that you can type in your form here, and when you click Save and Share on the top right, it will send an email to your clients with the form so they can click to electronically sign it. That is great and all, but if you are on an appointment and you have your device and you're typing in the form right next to them, wouldn't it be nice if you could then pass the form over to your client to electronically sign it? Well, that is exactly what this host in-person signing does. So it will allow you to then pass your, let's say, tablet or computer over to your client once the form is filled in to electronically sign right next to you. Let me emphasize real quick that you would need to make sure that the form is entirely filled out first before passing the tablet over to them, or the device over to them to sign. Okay, the form does need to be entirely filled out. If you try and make a change or add anything to the form after your client signs it, it will erase all their signatures because it thinks they didn't sign for that. Okay, it makes sense. It's just a pain. All right, so again, make sure you fill out the entire form first. Okay, you're sitting right next to them. You're filling out the form. You can then come up to More on the top black toolbar and click Host in-person signing. Once I do that, and you can just watch on my screen for this, okay? So once you do this, I will ask you if you want to save, and I'll click yes. I then ask you which client you would like to share, or you would like to sign this form. So if you had multiple clients, there'd be a whole list of them here, and you can select which client is signing first, and you can click continue. The main thing that you need to know is that after your client is done signing the form, okay, it will have signed you out of your Dotloop account and signed your client into their new free Dotloop account. And so when they give you the device back, you'll be logged out of your Dotloop account. So if you need to go back in and make any further changes or do anything else, you will need to relog in to MyKW or Dotloop.com to get back to your loop. Okay, I just don't want you to be caught off guard and make it look like you know what you're doing. Okay, so that's why these features are great to practice on before you do it in front of a client. But just a quick note on that, it's a very useful tool so your clients can sign right next to you. And again, we did that in More and Host in-Person signing here. Okay. So again, editing this form can be viewed more in detail on slmtraining.com on the Dotloop 101 video. So feel free to check that out. The Dotloop 101 notes that I sent out also go over that. All right, so I'm going to click on this back button on the top left of your screen. Okay, it's kind of hard to see. It's on the black toolbar. It's a red back button to the left of the form name to get back to your main loop. It may ask you if you'd like to share the form. You can click no for right now. It may ask if you want to save the form. You can click yes on that. All right, and let's go over a pretty cool Dotloop feature called the Make a Copy feature. So this Make a Copy feature does two things. So first of all, what this Make a Copy feature does is, I mentioned earlier, if as a buyer's agent, the contract terminates, you need to copy forms from one loop to another. Okay, so this feature I'm going to show you will allow you to copy forms from one loop to another loop. Secondly, another feature, and this is what we'll be actually focusing on, this next tactic, the Make a Copy feature will allow you to copy a form, an interactive document. Okay, and what I mean by interactive is that you can just start typing in the form, right? That's what you're probably used to working in, that you can just start typing in the form. You can copy the form into the same loop as a PDF. Well, so let's talk about when we would need to do that. So I did mention that if you have a fully executed document, so it's fully signed by your clients, and you try to go make a change to that document, so you just need to add in something super simple, like change your client's name from Tony to Anthony, because that's his legal name. Okay, so super simple change. If you try and do that change on a fully signed document, it will erase all your client's signatures. We obviously don't want that. So a way around that is you can make a copy of the document and copy it to your loop as a PDF, so it preserves the signatures and it allows you to make changes to that PDF. So let's walk through that, how you would do that, and I'll show you why that's useful. Okay, so first things first, now that we have this form in our loop, let's go ahead and click on the three drop-down dots to the far right of the form name and select Make a Copy. So we're selecting Make a Copy from that drop-down. And we have two options here. So it's showing you we're making a copy. This first option is if we were copying this form from one loop to another loop. Okay. But in this case, we want to select that second option that says Copy as Flat PDF, Signatures Preserved. So those are the magical words right here. That is preserving the signatures so we can make small changes to the form and it does not erase our client's signatures. Love that. So make sure you select that second dot there. If you are following along, if you don't do this, I'll lose you for a while. So make sure to click that second dot specifically. And we're selecting To Loop. Once I select To Loop, it will then show me all my loops in my account here, and I can search for the loop that I'd like to copy this into. In this case, I'm just going to select the loop that I'm currently in, so I'm searching for the loop that I'm currently in. And I'll select the loop name. Once I select the loop name, it will show me the different folders that I may have set up in that loop. And just to make this not confusing, I'm going to put this in the sales folder. I'm going to put it in a different folder there and click copy on the bottom right here. All right, it'll give me this little checkbox that was done, and I can click OK. And I now see that form copied over. All right, so let's just make sense of this for you. Let's now go ahead and click on that form name, the new form. So I can tell it's a new form because the new one is in bold. The other one that we already had in there is not bolded because we already clicked on it. So we're clicking on the one in bold. That's the new one. And when I do that, I notice that I can't just click to start typing. That is what a PDF is. Okay, so the PDF means it's not typically editable. But the good news about that is that it preserves your signatures. It won't erase your signatures, and we can make changes to this PDF. Now, typically you can't make changes to a PDF. Dotloop is a software that allows you to do that, which is super cool. All right, so let me show you how you can make changes to a PDF. All right, so up here on this Add option on the top black toolbar, we have different items that we can add in, and let's say I would like to add a strike through. So let's say I have my client's name here. I entered that in wrong. That needs to be Anthony Stark instead of Tony Stark. So I can come up to Add and Add Strike Through, and I can click on that option. It will then start following my mouse that I can line that up with whatever I'd like to strike through, and I can click to drop it. Just a heads up, if you're using a touchscreen computer or an iPad, the field does not follow your mouse, but if you click, it will drop the field, just in case that applies to you. And now let's repeat the process. Let's go ahead and add in a text box. So Add on the top black toolbar, and let's click Add Text. I will start following my mouse, so I can click to drop the new text box. Now the text box is generally very small, can't fit a whole lot in there. So to make that bigger, if you click on the field, all right, and it's selected, I can tell because it's in red around the field. I can then hover my mouse over it, and I'll see a little right triangle on the bottom right of the text box, which I can line my mouse up with. My mouse turns into a diagonal arrow that I can then click to drag and make this as big as I need it. So once I expand that text box, I can now type in the correct name for my client. But of course, any changes that you make to a fully signed document need to be signed by your client. So now to add in initial boxes for your client to sign this change, I can come back up to the Add field or Add option on the top black toolbar, and now we're adding initials. So add initials. If you've been using Dotloop for a little bit, just a quick extra tip for you. If you need to lay multiple initial boxes, so let's say you have 2 clients that need to sign this, if you hold Shift before clicking your mouse to drop the field, it will then follow your mouse so you can add a second one. So again, if you hold Shift and then click, it keeps following your mouse so you can add then the same field again. Okay. Now with that being said, if you accidentally add a field, let's say in a random spot like down here, okay, or you just need to delete it, you can always delete the field by clicking on the field you need to delete and clicking the X on the black toolbar that will display, but you just need to select it first. Okay, or you can hover your mouse over the edge of the field and it will turn your mouse into like a 4-way arrow so you can move that to wherever it actually needs to lay on the form. So just a heads up on those 2 things. Now, whenever you are adding an initial field to a PDF for your client to electronically sign, this is super important. They will not just be able to automatically sign it, right? Because Dotloop doesn't know who should sign it at this point. Right? You have to tell Dotloop which person needs to sign this field so that not just anyone can randomly sign this field. So what you would want to do is click on the initial field and select Assign Field from that drop-down. So let me show you that again. So we're clicking on Assign Field. Okay, you click on the field, click Assign Field. Once I do that, this drop-down will appear, giving you the options of who can electronically sign that. So in theory, your client should already be there, so you can click on your client's name, or you can click Add Person on the bottom there. So in this case, I'll go ahead and click on my client's name, and it puts my client's names in print, or my client's initials in print, indicating to me that I set it up correctly, that they will be able to electronically sign. So assuming that you've used Dotloop before, you will have seen what an electronic signature actually looks like, and that's very different from this. It is a cursive initial with a time and date stamp, so it does look very different. If I were to print this form, this field would be blank, just a heads up. So this TS in here, this client's initials, is just indicating to me that I set it up correctly, that my client will be able to electronically sign that field. This is a 100% necessary step to having your client sign this. So editing PDFs are really useful for making small changes to fully signed forms, but let me tell you another time that you need to edit PDFs. Okay, so let's say the agent on the other side, and actually before I continue on this, let me just go ahead and send you out a video. So short pause here. I'm sending out a video on the make a copy feature. Okay, so the make a copy feature is what we just went over, how you copy forms from one loop to another, and or how you copy a form to a PDF in your loop so you can make changes to it. If you ever need to have that, it's like a short 10-minute video that will walk you through that and explain that in detail as well. Okay, so moving on to what I was talking about on editing PDFs. So let's talk about other times that editing PDFs will really be useful in your business. So let's say the agent on the other side works for Coldwell Banker, okay, or wherever, Allen Tate, another brokerage that doesn't utilize Dotloop necessarily. Let's say that agent emails you over the offer to purchase as a PDF. It's attached to an email. So now you have this PDF. However, your clients went to Florida, yes, in the middle of a transaction to go to Disney World, and so you need to send the form over to them so that they can electronically sign it from afar. Okay, so typically when you have a PDF, and we can look at the bottom here, right, you can't just click to electronically sign it. You will have to add in initial boxes for your clients to be able to electronically sign. All right, so to do that, it's the same concept here, but just another use for you. We would come up to add, click add initials from that drop down. It will then start following my mouse so that I can line that up. If you need to lay more than one, so if I need to lay two, if there's a husband and wife signing, I can hold shift when I click, hold shift, click. It will then start following my mouse and I can click again to lay the next one. Okay, and I would need to do that on every field that needs to be electronically signed. Now, as you've learned, we can't just lay the field, it has to be assigned to them. So I would then go to assign field, assign my client to the field, and I would need to do the next one, assign it to add the wife here. Okay, I don't have her in the transaction, but in theory, you then add the wife to make sure the husband signs one field and then the wife signs the other. Okay, you would have to do that going all the way down the field, or form rather. The signature fields are the exact same. I just want to show you guys that so you feel comfortable with it. So any signature fields, I would come up to add, click add signature. I can align the signature field wherever I want to drop that. Click to drop. I then want to click assign field to assign that to my client. Okay, so it's kind of a two-step process. You have to lay the field and then make sure you assign that to the person that needs to sign it. Okay. So that is how you can allow your clients to sign a PDF. Right? So please let me know if you have any questions on that. That's a very important thing that you'll definitely be utilizing with your business. Really great that you can edit PDFs within Dotloop. All right, so let me show you, make sure there's nothing else. Just a quick note, you probably already know about the file option on the top black toolbar. You do have the option to print the document or download that. With that, a quick note on downloading. If you have a fully executed document in Dotloop, download it to your computer so you have a copy of that. I did mention that if you make any changes, it will erase the signatures. That's the worst when that happens. It's really great to have a downloaded copy on your computer. I believe you're supposed to save those for like 7 years anyway. So download a copy, create a folder on your computer to have a backup of all your forms, just so you have that on file there. All right, just a quick note. So that's file, download. All right, let's click on the back button on the top left of your form here on the black toolbar to the left of the form name. All right, and it might ask you if you want to save it. I'll go ahead and click yes. If it asks you if you want to share it, you can click no. So let me bring something full circle for you. I was explaining that a great time that you can use that PDF editing feature is if the agent on the other side who doesn't use Dotloop emailed you a copy of the offer to purchase, let's say. So now it's now you have that saved to your computer. So let's talk about how you can add PDFs to your loop from your computer. So we're going to click Add Document to the far right of really any of the folder names, but in this case, let's say the sales folder. And we're going to talk about this Browse option and this Email option that will achieve adding PDFs to your loop here. So first, let's talk about Browse. So again, let's say you had that PDF in your email and you saved it to your computer. So that PDF is now on your computer. Or let's say another use for this is you're not a big fan of technology, okay, and you just want to have your clients hand sign the form, okay, or let's say your clients aren't a fan of electronic signatures, they don't trust it. So you have this hand signed form in front of you and you need to get it into your loop, okay. So step one, if you have the forms in your hands, is you would need to scan that to your computer. So you have a home scanner or your office may have a scanner. Scan that to your computer, save it to your computer. First step. Now you would be able to click Browse on the center of your screen, right, and that is by clicking Add Document on the far right if you're not seeing these three blue boxes here. So I'm selecting Browse. It will then browse my computer so I can navigate onto wherever I have that form saved, and I can double click on that to pull that in right away. So I just double click on that and that will pull the PDF in right away. Alright, so Dotloop does only accept PDFs, so you cannot add like a picture file, like a JPEG or a PNG to your loop. I see that the most if you're trying to add a photo of the earnest money check, for example. If you do have a photo that you need to add to your loop, you would need to convert it to a PDF first. There are tons of free PDF converters online, so if you Google JPEG to PDF converter, you'll run into a bunch of free ones. I usually just pick the top option on Google, so you can convert that right away. And if you have any trouble with that, feel free to email us at support@scottloraymarketing.com and we can help you convert that. All right, so again, no picture files, only PDFs. So you can browse that here. Just a quick note on PDFs, I forgot to mention we were working on the PDF earlier. If I were to click on that new PDF, and if you don't have a PDF, you can just watch on my screen here. So if I were to click on that PDF, one more cool feature of this PDF is that you can split it and rotate it. So let's say I had this whole listing or sales folder, and I scan this to my computer sideways. So now I have this sideways file in here. All right, instead of straining your neck, you can come up to File on the top black toolbar, and you can rotate the file. So you can rotate it by page or the entire file if need be. But I really like the split option. So the split option here will allow you to, let's say if you again have the entire sales folder all in one clump, one file, and you want to separate that into the separate documents. So you want the offer to purchase to be separate from the property disclosure so your clients can sign it or whatever your need may be. You can split the document. So if I select File, Split Document, I can then control how many documents I want that split into. So on the top right, I could select up to 13 different files. So let's say I want that in 3 different files. I could then rename it. So let's say the offer to purchase is the first 5 pages, whatever the case may be. So pages 1 to 5 will be that file name. And this one will be the property disclosure. Okay, and I'll show you the pages so you can scroll down, make sure you're getting the correct pages, and so forth. Okay, once you click split, that will split the document for you. It's a very useful feature. Just so it heads up, you would have to do this before laying any fields. And so you'd have to split the document before like adding any text boxes. Once you add any fields from here, it no longer gives you the option to split or rotate a PDF. Just a quick note on that. All right, so I'm clicking back on the top left here to get back to my main loop, and I'm just going to show you one more cool feature In Dotloops, I'll be wrapping up class pretty soon here. But let me show you the one last way on how to add a document to your loop. Okay, you don't really just want to watch on my screen on this one. So we went over adding by templates. Those are the interactive forms, and browsing for a PDF. Just one more quick note on that. You can drag and drop files here. So if you really like to drag and drop, let's say from your computer, if you find that easier, you can pull up your files. Sorry. And you can go to wherever you have that saved. Again, that would have to be a PDF. And you can drag to drop the file right into this blue section here. Okay, drop files here. Okay, just a quick note on that. So you can do it that way as well. But what I really want to show you is this email feature. So it's a very cool feature that you can attach the files you need to an email and send them directly into this folder. So let me show you how you would do that. So feel free to just watch up here. I do have my email account open. So in theory, when you would want to do this, the agent from the other side, again, doesn't use Dotloop, and he or she sent you an attachment of a PDF of the offer to purchase. So now you have this in your email account. The most efficient way to get this from your email account to your loop is this email option. So step one is I click on email, this email option. So I have add document selected. That's why I have these three boxes, and I select email. Maybe, there we go. All right, once I select email, it will generate this crazy long Dotloop email address that's specific to this folder in this loop. So I can click copy to clipboard. And it confirms it was copied. So now I can go on over to my loop, to my emails. And I can pull up the email that has the offer to purchase attached. So here I go. Here I have that PDF attached. Again, it has to be the PDF specifically. It can't be a picture file. And I'm going to forward this email. So if you are using your KW Gmail account, okay, how you forward an email is by clicking on the three dots on the top right, and you'll have the forward option there. Okay, here's one way to do it. If you're using any other email system, whatever your method is to forward the email, you go ahead and click on that forward option. Then in the to field, we'll want to right click and paste. So we're pasting in that crazy long Dotloop email address. And I'll click send. So in that to field, we just paste it in by right clicking and selecting paste. Paste it in that email address. I have the attachment here, and I can click send. Now what will happen is Dotloop will ignore all the verbiage in the email, right? I have this verbiage in the email. Dotloop ignores that. It's only forwarding in this PDF. So now I can go back over to my loop, and it won't just magically appear here. You will have to refresh your page in order to see that emailed offer to purchase come in. All right, it takes about 20-30 seconds, and then you can refresh your page by clicking the arrow in a circle, typically on the top left by the back button. Okay, this is on your browser. And it will then show me the emailed offer to purchase. So that is the quickest way to get an attachment from your emails right over into your loop without having to save it to your computer and so forth. So really cool feature. I do have that. I know that was a couple steps. I really do. I do have this video on how to email into Dotloop, and it goes over that feature that I just showed you, and there's also a method to email into directly into the template section of your Dotloop account, which is right in here on the top, that templates icon. There's a way to email into there, and that Dotloop email address is consistent, so you can save that to your address book in your email. It's a pretty cool feature, so check out that video. It's a short 10-minute video that will walk you through both of those items and emailing into Dotloop. Okay. Now there's just one more video I want to send over to you guys. So, and then let me explain this real quick. And this is actually one of my favorite features of Dotloop. This is a little more advanced. So this is in creating form templates. All right, so let me explain this really quick and why it will be useful for you. So this video right here on form templates, what you can do, so let's say every time you type in a listing agreement, let's say, A lot of the information is the same from one listing agreement to the next. Like all your information, maybe you're typing in NA in a lot of fields, or any information on synthetic stucco or floodplains and so forth might be in general the same on most of your listings. So this, wouldn't it be nice if you can then have a listing agreement that's typed in with all the information that is generally the same on most of your listing agreements. So every time you pull that into your new listing loop, it already has that information populated. So that's exactly what that video will show you how to do. You can, of course, always change the information on it. So if that new listing actually does have synthetic stucco, you can update that on the listing agreement if that's something on your listing agreement for your state. For example, but it does just save you a lot of time because it has a lot of the information already filled in for you. So check out that video. It will really help you out with that. Again, if you're watching this class recorded, feel free to email me, support@scottleroymarketing.com. Attention my name, Leah, and I will go ahead and send that over to you. Alright guys, I hope that was helpful. Check out those videos to further your knowledge on all this fun Dotloop stuff. Please let me know if you have any questions at all on this. I'm more than happy to help you make your Dotloop experience as easy and efficient as possible so you're getting the full use out of the system. I hope you guys have a great Friday Eve and happy looping. Take care, guys.